Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide. A reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that when 15-year-old King Camp Gillette's home was destroyed by the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, he became a traveling salesman? Join us as we take a closer look into how an invention by Gillette and his friend Nickerson would still be in use today. As men's grooming changed from long beards to clean-shaven faces, Gillette and Nickerson created a razor with a flattened piece of steel, sharpened on both sides. They chose to call it Gillette instead of Nickerson, fearing the name would suggest the razor would nick the skin.
Today, we're looking at a name you definitely know, King C. Gillette, a name that's, well, pretty much synonymous with convenience, with mass production, and really the birth of the disposable economy.
It's fascinating because what the source material brings out right away is this massive contradiction at the heart of his entire life. You've got the corporate giant who, perfected the idea of making you throw things away to make money.
The ultimate continuous revenue stream.
Exactly. And yet this same man was a deeply committed utopian socialist.
It's a real head-scratcher. He built an empire on, well, disposability, while at the same time dreaming of a world without any corporate competition or even personal greed.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, to unpack the sources on Gillette's unbelievable journey, from a traveling salesman with a knack for inventing all the way to a global brand.
And to really dig into that radical social philosophy he was pursuing the whole time, right alongside his business.
We have to start with the invention, the Casey Gillette razor. The patent is from December 2nd, 1901. And the whole concept was right there.
The permanent handle.
And the disposable double-edged blade. He really locked that in with the safety razor patent in 1904. That simple idea, that pairing, it basically set the stage for a century of consumer products.
Okay, so let's back up. Before the razor itself, there must have been a problem to solve, right? What was shaving actually like back at the turn of the 20th century?
It was, not great. It was inefficient and honestly pretty dangerous. In the late 1800s, fashion was changing. Long beards were going out.
And clean-shaven faces or those very manicured mustaches were coming in.
Exactly. And that kind of upkeep was something most people just weren't equipped to do safely at home.
Because they were using those old, open street razors.
Right. If you wanted a good, clean, safe shave, you were probably going to the barber maybe 3 times a week. If you did it at home, you were dealing with this expensive blade that was always dull because it was almost impossible to sharpen correctly.
The market was just begging for something better.
And the funny thing is, the real spark for the disposable idea didn't even come from shaving. It came from something else entirely.
This is where his friend William Painter comes into the story.
That's the one. Painter invented the disposable bottle cap. He'd already mastered this idea of a cheap, high-volume item you just throw away, and he gave Gillette that iconic piece of advice.
Invent something people use and throw away. I mean, it sounds so obvious now, but that phrase is the blueprint for everything. Coffee pods, printer ink.
It really focused Gillette's mind. He had his famous aha moment in 1895. He's standing at a sink trying to sharpen his own awful straight razor.
And he has a realization.
Yeah, he realizes that for a good shave, you only need the very, very finest edge of the blade. The rest of it, all that thick steel, was just expensive and hard to maintain.
So his vision was to replace that with a cheap, flat piece of steel sharpened on both sides. Safe, accurate, and cheap.
Yeah.
But that was 1895. The patent wasn't until 1901. Why the 6-year gap?
That 6-year struggle is a huge part of the story. All the technical experts, every metallurgist he talked to, they all told him it was impossible.
They couldn't make the steel.
Think about what he was asking for. A piece of steel thin enough to be flexible, but also hard enough to hold a microscopic edge. And you had to be able to mass produce it. The technology just didn't exist.
So the invention wasn't just the blade, it was inventing the process to make the blade.
Precisely. And the solution finally came from a man named William Nickerson, an MIT grad. He was the one who figured it out. He developed the machinery to produce those blades consistently in 1901.
So Nickerson is the technical genius who makes it all possible, but they end up calling it the Gillette razor. Why?
He's a pure branding decision. They actually thought about calling it the Nickerson, but
What?
It sounded too much like Nick the Skin.
Yeah, that's not great for a safety razor.
Not at all. Gillette just sounded clean, trustworthy. And they sealed the deal by putting King C. Gillette's own clean-shaven portrait right on the packaging. It was an instant visual promise. This product is safe.
That is genius. And, before all this, Gillette already had inventing in his blood.
Oh, absolutely. He was born in 1855 in Wisconsin, and his whole family was like that. His father was a part-time inventor and a patent agent. His mother wrote a cookbook in 1887 that was so good it stayed in print for over 100 years.
But his own career, it started out of a kind of desperation, didn't it?
It did. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 destroyed his family's home. So at just 17, he had to hit the road as a traveling salesman. But it became his laboratory. He wasn't just selling stuff, he was studying it.
Always looking for ways to improve things.
That's it. Even before the razor, he got 4 patents for making improvements to the products he was selling. He just had that mindset.
Okay, so he's got the product, he's got the process, but how does it go from a clever invention to being in, like, every bathroom in America? That kind of leap seems huge.
It needed a catalyst, something bigger than just advertising, and that catalyst was World War I.
The military got involved.
Massively. The U.S. government decided to issue Gillette safety razors to the entire armed forces.
Why? What was the reason?
Hygiene, mainly. But specifically so that soldiers' gas masks could get a proper, tight seal against their faces. You couldn't have a beard.
So shaving with a Gillette became essentially mandatory for soldiers.
Yes. And the numbers, they're just staggering. By the end of the war, the sources say they'd handed out almost 3.5 million razors and 32 million blades just to the military.
Wow. That's not marketing, that's mass conversion.
It's the ultimate mass conversion. When those millions of men came home, they weren't going back to the barber or that old straight razor. They'd been trained on the Gillette system.
He had a built-in, loyal customer base for life.
It completely changed the barbershop industry, and, it shot Gillette into the corporate stratosphere. He became a millionaire almost overnight, all thanks to this model of perpetual consumption.
And this is where the story pivots, and it's just such a shocking contrast.
Yeah.
This man who built a fortune on capitalism, on disposability, the sources are clear that the year before he even created the razor, he published a book.
A book on utopian socialism.
It's so strange.
It's bizarre. He wasn't just, dabbling. He was completely committed to restructuring all of society. His whole idea was based on universal cooperation. He thought competition was inefficient and just morally wrong.
So how would anything get made in this world without competition?
He had a plan. He believed all production could be handled by one single giant entity. He called it the People's Corporation.
Oh, like state-owned.
Not exactly. More like universal employee-owned. Every worker would also be a shareholder in this one massive global company.
That is incredibly optimistic about human nature. What did he think the outcome would be?
Nothing short of world peace. He literally wrote that in his world, selfishness would be unknown and war would be a barbarism of the past. It's like he saw the profits from his razor as the seed money to end capitalism itself.
And he had a very specific physical plan for this, right? The metropolis.
Oh, yes. It wasn't just an idea. He imagined all Americans living together in one gigantic, perfectly planned city, the metropolis.
Powered by what?
All powered by the Niagara River. For him, it represented the ultimate in energy efficiency and collective living.
So who did he want to run this mega city?
Well, he aimed high. He actually went to President Theodore Roosevelt and asked him to preside over it.
And Roosevelt said?
But Roosevelt, not surprisingly, declined the offer to run this new utopian city.
I can't imagine. And he didn't stop with the president, did he?
No, he tried to recruit other giants. He went to Henry Ford, the master of mass production. Ford wasn't interested. He even tried to get the social reformer Upton Sinclair on board, but Sinclair wasn't buying into Gillette's specific brand of utopia either.
So the man who could sell the world on a new way to shave couldn't sell anyone on his vision for a new world.
That's the irony, isn't it? But even with that failure, he never stopped inventing. He never lost that drive to improve things.
Right, so later in life, before he died in 1932, he was still tinkering.
Exactly. He moved on to energy. He was actually trying to figure out how to extract oil from shale. He just always embodied that spirit of continuous improvement, no matter the project.
Which brings us back to his own philosophy on innovation, something he said about his own company.
It's a fantastic quote. He said, "We'll stop making razor blades when we can't keep making them better." That idea, that relentless drive, is really what kept his brand alive for so long.
And that idea of never being satisfied, of always pushing forward, it connects to some of the broader counsel on innovation that our sources discuss.
It really does. It highlights this idea that real innovation, it comes from being proactive, from taking initiative, not just waiting for instructions. One of the sources references the principle that If you have to be commanded in all things, you're being a slothful and not a wise servant.
It's about taking personal responsibility for solving problems, you see.
Ah.
And Gillette, for all his contradictions, really did that, didn't he? He spent 6 years on a problem everyone said was impossible.
Absolutely. No one compelled him to fix shaving. He saw a problem, and he just dedicated himself to solving it. That's the ingenuity that made his name last.
So we're left with this legacy, King C. Gillette. The man who pioneered mass consumption built a fortune on disposable profits.
While at the same time dedicating his life to a dream of eliminating selfishness and competition through this grand cooperative utopia. It's an incredible paradox.
Which really brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. When you look at Gillette's life building his own ambition and wealth through disposability, while dreaming of a world without selfish competition, it makes you wonder. How do you balance your own ambition, your own drives to innovate and improve with those bigger, universal, cooperative ideals when you're trying to solve problems in your own life?
Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.